Welcome to the Nerd Werk Nexus. Today we're looking into something pretty exciting. News that could really make waves in fields like biomedical engineering, environmental tech, really anyone thinking about clean water. Scientists have announced finding a whole new phylum of microbes. And the kicker, they found them way down, deep beneath the surface.
Yeah, in places like Iowa,
Yeah.
even China, sometimes as deep as 70 feet.
And what's really grabbing headlines is the potential impact on global water purification.
Exactly. We might be looking at a natural process we barely knew existed, one that could, reshape how we think about the planet cleaning its own water.
It's kind of wild for our listeners, the researchers, scientists out there, especially working with microbes. It just shows how much is still unexplored, literally under our feet.
It really does.
So today we want to unpack this, look at the challenges involved, how the understanding sort of evolved, what they found in the lab, and crucially, what this might mean down the road for purifying water.
Right, so maybe we should start with where they found these things. It's this area called Earth's critical zone.
Okay.
You're familiar with that term? It's basically like the planet's living layer from the tops of the trees down, well, hundreds of feet.
Ah, okay, so it's this whole active zone.
Yeah, and it runs all these crucial processes.
Yeah.
Soil building, water cycling, nutrient flows, stuff that affects our food, our water quality, ecosystem health.
Got it. And I guess we know a lot about the surface layers, but the deeper parts.
Exactly. The deep critical zone is much less understood. It's this huge complex system we're only just beginning to really map out.
So how did they even find these microbes? Was it just luck or?
Well, it started with DNA analysis that took soil samples from pretty deep down. And they specifically chose sites in Iowa and China because they had similar deep soil characteristics. It's a smart way to see if this was just a local thing or, more widespread.
Right, see if it's a global pattern.
Smart. Yeah, establish that potential significance early on.
And the findings. It wasn't just a new species, was it?
No, that's the really big news here. It's a whole new phylum. For anyone in biology, that's a major branch on the tree of life.
Wow. Okay, that is significant, a fundamental difference.
Totally. It means they're evolutionarily quite distinct from everything else we know. And the backstory they piece together from the genetics is fascinating, too.
Oh, yeah. What did they find?
Well, it looks like their ancestors were actually aquatic, living in places like hot springs, fresh water maybe millions of years back.
So they transitioned from water
to topsoil, and then eventually migrated down into these deep soil environments.
Which makes you wonder, what did scientists think was living down there before this, if anything?
Well, the sort of standard thinking might have been maybe some dormant microbes, spores, perhaps, just waiting it out.
Right, not much activity expected that deep.
But that's another key finding here. These CSP13 microbes, they're not dormant. They're metabolically active. They're carrying out biological processes. Slowly, sure, but they're active, which really goes against some prior assumptions about deep soil life.
So much for being quiet down there. That definitely forces a rethink. So they know they exist, they know they're active, but studying them must be tough.
Oh, absolutely. How do you replicate being 70 feet underground in a petri dish?
Exactly. The pressure, the darkness, the specific chemistry.
It's incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
Standard lab conditions just don't cut it. They are working on it, though. And that hot spring ancestry gives them a clue.
Ah, so maybe temperature.
They're experimenting with higher temperatures, yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing if that helps coax them into growing in culture. It's ongoing work.
Makes sense. So while they work on the culturing side, what have they learned about what these microbes are actually doing down there in the soil?
Well, one of the most striking things is just how dominant they can be.
Dominant. How so?
In some of the deep soil samples they looked at, CSP13 made up 50%, sometimes more, of the entire microbial community.
50%? Wow. That's...
Wow.
You don't usually see that kind of dominance, do you? Especially not in surface soils with all the competition.
Not typically, no. The hypothesis is that over long stretches of evolutionary time, this phylum just got incredibly good at surviving in that nutrient-poor deep environment.
So they basically outcompeted everyone else for that specific niche.
Kind of looks that way. They've adapted exceptionally well, cornered the market, so to speak.
Okay, that adaptation part makes sense. Now let's get to the bit that probably has a lot of listeners leaning in the water purification angle. We know soil filters water, but how does this deep soil layer, and these microbes specifically, fit in?
Right. So soil overall is Earth's biggest water filter, right? It uses physical trapping, chemical reactions, biological processes. The surface soil does a lot of the initial work. But the deep soil, is where water stays for much longer. It percolates slowly.
Ah, more contact time for more thorough cleaning.
Exactly. That's where the fine-tuning happens, and that's where CSP13 comes in.
Okay, so what are they doing?
As stuff like carbon and nitrogen compounds wash down from the topsoil, the stuff that gets through the upper layers,
Yeah.
CSP13 seem to feed on it. The researchers called them scavengers.
Okay, so they're cleaning up the leftovers.
Pretty much. They metabolize these compounds, effectively removing them before the water eventually reaches the aquifers we rely on for drinking water. It's a natural, ongoing cleanup service.
That's incredible. A whole phylum we didn't know about, actively helping purify groundwater. So what's next for the research team? What are they trying to figure out now?
Well, a big focus is really digging into the unique physiology. How do they thrive down there? What specific biochemical tricks do they have?
Right, the nuts and bolts of their survival strategy.
Exactly. And what genes allow them to do that in such an extreme place? Getting them to grow in the lab is really key for answering those questions.
Makes sense. And thinking bigger picture, maybe for our listeners in, say, biomedical engineering or environmental tech, what are the potential applications here?
Well, the researchers seem pretty excited about finding interesting genes of value for other purposes.
Meaning, like novel enzymes or something.
Potentially, yeah. Because they live in such a unique environment, their biochemistry might be quite different. It could lead to discovering new enzymes, new metabolic pathways, things we could potentially harness.
For biotech applications, maybe.
Could be. Industrial processes, maybe even therapeutics down the line, who knows? Life in extreme places often comes up with novel biological solutions, you know?
True. Are there any specific potential applications they highlighted?
Yeah, one thing they mentioned was the unknown ability of CSP13 to metabolize tough pollutants.
Ah, okay. Things that are hard to break down currently.
Exactly. Think about persistent contaminants in water. If these microbes have naturally evolved ways to deal with substances our current treatment methods struggle with, well, that could be huge for bioremediation.
Right. You could potentially use their natural abilities to clean up contaminated sites or improve water treatment.
That's the hope. A more sustainable, maybe more cost-effective way to tackle some really pressing environmental problems related to water quality. That's definitely relevant for environmental engineers and technologists.
Definitely. Okay, so let's just quickly recap. We've got this discovery of CSP13, a brand new, surprisingly dominant microbe phylum deep underground. They're active, not dormant, and playing a real role in natural groundwater purification by scavenging nutrients.
Right, cleaning up what latches down.
Studying them is tricky because of the environment, but researchers are working on it, using clues from their hot spring ancestors.
Yeah, the culturing challenge is significant, but they're making progress.
And the future potential is really exciting. Maybe finding novel biochemical tools, big implications for water tech.
Absolutely. It really brings to mind that Leonardo da Vinci quote, doesn't it? We know more about the movement of celestial bodies than about the soil underfoot.
Yeah, it really does.
This discovery just hammers home how much unexplored life could be right beneath us. What other breakthroughs are hiding down there, you know? In unexpected corners of the planet.
It's a great point. A lot left to discover. For anyone wanting to dig deeper into the specifics, the study itself was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS.
Yep, PNAS. Good place to start for the detailed science.
Definitely worth a look if you're interested. Well, thanks for exploring this fascinating discovery with us today on the Nerd Werk Nexus.
My pleasure. It's certainly exciting science.